This took place the summer of 2010. I remember it was a few days into my summer break. I was going away to Florida to be with my grandpa the week following, so my friends and I decided to hang out until it was time for me to leave. It was 5 of us, 3 girls and 2 boys. For this story, I'll call them Miguel, Denise, Maria, and Eric. Miguel and Denise were twins, as well as the oldest of us, being 15. Maria and Eric were both 14, and they were also a couple at the time, while I was the youngest, being 12. They babied me a lot since I was the only one still in middle school, while the others were already in high school. I remember it was a Thursday afternoon, around 3 or 4. We were sitting on Eric's couch and we'd been playing FIFA since school let out at 2:05 p.m. Just as Miguel was beating his sister's Manchester United with Liverpool, Eric then suggested we go to the park. We all agreed, bringing our soccer ball. The park was only about 2 blocks away from Eric's backyard. It had a nice-sized playground surrounded by climbable trees. There was a large field just a few yards away from the playground that my friends and I just always seemed to occupy. On the other side of the park was a baseball diamond for Little League and softball games, as well as practices. Though beside the diamond was a small graveyard and a very dense patch of woods. What I never thought was creepy until I got older was that there were small private cemeteries along the side of the park, separated by a tall metal gate. We tend to ignore it a lot since you can't really see it unless you try to. We start our little game. We played for about 30 minutes. My team down by 1, when Maria, being the most daring, says with an evil smirk on her face, "Hey, let's hop the fence to that graveyard." Miguel and Denise then looked at her like she was out of her mind. "Are you fucking crazy? What if an undertaker's walking around and we get caught?" Miguel protested. Maria lightly shoved him. "We're not gonna get caught. Just play it chilled." After a few minutes of persuasion, we were all in the same boat and began the 5 minutes towards the graveyard. The sky was starting to get dark at this time. We dropped our ball and walked over rotten branches to the tall gate. Eric was the first one over, being the tallest. Then it was Maria, then Miguel, then Denise. As mentioned before, I was the youngest, and I was also the smallest. I was also absolutely terrified of heights. When all of the others hopped over, I squeezed in through an opening at the bottom of the fence. We all started to wander around. 15 minutes later, fireflies started to blink around us, and the air got sticky and muggy. The streetlights on the block started to come on, though none had really shined in the graveyard. But we still played around nonetheless, catching the bugs and putting them on each other. I, being the daring, idiotic kid that I was, would do front flips off of gravestones. I know it was wrong, but we were kind of considered troublemakers in our neighborhood. We laughed and joked around until Maria suddenly stopped. "Look," she says. Out in the far distance, behind a big thick tree, was something dark protruding from a small pile of leaves under the setting sun. It looked too weird to be a stick or an old log. I stole a glance at my friends, seeing the curiosity on their faces. Maria starts towards the mysterious object, determination in her steps. We all stayed behind, letting the girl explore. As she got closer, I could feel my nerves suddenly get bad, like something was just really wrong about this whole situation. Everyone watched as she slows a bit, then stops abruptly right in front of the tree. She stays still for a few seconds, then proceeded with caution. I look over at my friends, who are also watching attentively. "We should go. It's getting late and our parents would really want us." I was suddenly interrupted by a loud, blood-curdling scream coming from where Maria had just ventured off to. Eric immediately starts running full speed towards her, and we all followed right behind him. My adrenaline was so high, I could hear nothing but the faintness of our crunching footsteps and my loud heartbeat. Eric then reaches her, looking at what she was looking at, and then backed up. He trips on a branch, falling backwards, eyes wide in utter fear while he stared at the scene. The others and I stopped before getting too close. groaning and covering our noses once an unbelievable putrid stench reaches our senses. "What is it?" Miguel had asked while pinching his nose to block out the strong odor. Eric slowly looks at us, body trembling. Body, he says shakily, his skin looking pale in the little bit of daylight we had. Maria had turned her body away from whatever they were seeing, holding her stomach and retching loudly. I pushed past the other kids, keeping my eyes to the ground, and I then made my way to the frightened pair. What I then saw still haunts me to this day. The smell was stronger, almost making me throw up. But once my eyes processed what I was seeing, it's like I forgot how to function completely. It was the body of a black male, completely nude, with his parts missing, and his abdomen covered in multiple stab wounds. He was laying in an awkward position. His leg was bent at an unnatural angle, and his arms were broken through skin, folded behind his head. His face was covered in deep cuts, to the point of being unrecognizable. The wounds were infested with maggots, and his entire body was covered in blood. It seemed as if he had been here for days. I stood frozen, watching as maggots crawled on him and flies buzzing around the corpse. If I'm honest, I don't even remember if I was breathing. But before I knew it, I felt a really strong tug on my arm. "Alto, let's fucking go. We gotta get out of here." Eric then shouts at me impatiently, nearly pulling my arm from its socket. I saw that the others had already taken off, Miguel throwing Maria over his shoulder and running off with her. Before I could even think to move my legs, Eric does the same thing to me. He takes off running as fast as he can. We run along the gate, finding the opening that I had crawled through. Eric gets me to climb over the gate, our friends already on the other side. We ran all the way back to Eric's house. Eric hurries us inside and practically slammed the door shut before locking it. All of us were really scared and really struggling to catch our breaths. A few moments later, I then started crying, and Denise consoled me as Miguel yelled at Maria, who looked weak from vomiting, then running for 10 minutes. Maria just sat on the couch staring blankly at the floor as the boy raged on. "Bro, calm down. We're all scared here. Alto is worse off, and all of this screaming isn't helping her," Eric says, pushing the irate boy back. The older kids started trying to figure out what to do as Denise continued to comfort me. Eric ended up calling the police anonymously, then called our parents to come get us. When I got home, I went straight to my room and cried again. The image of that man flashed in my mind every second, though when my siblings asked me what was wrong, I'd come up with a lie. No one knows but us. The reason why I decided to finally get this out is because Denise contacted me on Facebook recently, and we caught up. She then asked me if I remember that day at the park all those years ago. I told her that I did, and that I'm still pretty messed up from that. She then tells me that a few years after that happened, after she graduated high school, she looked it up. The man was apparently a part of a shady group of people that the police had been after since the early 90s. Apparently he stole thousands of dollars from their boss, and he was murdered for it. So yeah, pretty fucking intense.